Here we are at the opening of Love and the Santa.
All new cards for Chuck and Bro.
Here they are.
The all mini pack holders.
Am I correct that you helped out with the film?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure did.
Это вина от кого? Мама.
Oh, thanks.
You're going to blink and it's going to be gone. So, a lot of great films this weekend, a lot of great filmmakers. Please support the festival. See as many films as you can. On to the announcements. Most of you know them, so I'm going to go by them really fast. Big board outside has all of our updates. Independent's website, independent.com, has our updated schedule, as well as edhat.com. That has a schedule as well. So, I am a huge sci-fi geek. I can freely admit my love of Star Wars. I can freely admit my love of Star Trek. Anything sci-fi, I am there. And Candace and Mickey, our two main programmers, gave me this film. They're like, you have to see this. And I watched it, and from the minute the film started, it blew my mind how amazing this film was and how beautiful it looks on screen. And we actually have the benefit of having the director, William Eubanks here. William Eubanks, to be here for a Q&A and to say a little bit about this film.
Just seeing all you guys right here is super awesome. So I just can't express enough gratitude for you guys all coming out to this project. It was just such a long road that seeing friends and family and people who helped make it is just like humbling and a huge honor. So that's kind of my go-to line right now, but it's real. So thank you so much, you guys. That was been very fun.
That's my name.
Credits are going, and there's a lot of people in this room that names are up here, so I apologize. Bodie Betancourt, no, but his name is anyways, you guys, jeez.
Well, it's a great film, and I think one of the most interesting story about this is how this project came together, how it was filmed locally, from what I understand. The space station you built was, you have to talk about it, please. If you just talk about everything came together.
Basically, yeah, everything was shot up in San Ynez pretty much, other than like taking the motorhome to the Grand Canyon a couple of times. Yeah, everything that we did was just, I mean, I'm gonna let you intro it.
Well, first things first, we want to say a very special thanks to the Eubank family, Carlisle Sr. and Patricia Eubank, Will's family. They are local, and basically have been supporting this movie from the start. They let Will build the space station on their property, on their driveway, which took over a year, and that's a pretty enormous commitment. Also, another couple more families, the Betancourt family we were pointing at, Lee Betancourt and Bodie Betancourt, Ben Betancourt. They have cameos in the film. They let us dig an underground tunnel on their property. Also very supportive on some of the other stuff that we shot. And another family, the Chamberlain family, Fred Chamberlain, neighbors of the Eubanks, that let Will blow up stuff on their property, which is, you know, obviously very supportive of the movie. We also want to, well, we want to start by, we definitely want to thank everybody here at the Santa Barbara International Film Festival. It's been such a great time for us already, and getting the movie seen, having it be seen on a big screen in a theater like this has just been awesome. I don't know. I'll pass it back down.
You guys did a great job.
Basically, 4 years ago, Tom DeLonge had seen some of my stuff, and he dug it. So he was like, "Hey, we have this album coming out. We want to make 10 music videos for it." So we started going down that road, and it was just sort of, as we'd made a few, it was a little boring, if you could imagine watching 10 music videos back to back with like no dialogue, no nothing. It wasn't really the right thing. It was still the same theme of this movie about an astronaut who gets left up in space, which came from a song that was called "Love Like Rockets" about an astronaut going to space. We kind of watched it, and I was like, Tom, just give me some more time. I've got a new idea. I'm going to go find a place that won't take much money, that we can put up a space station. Like, I'll build one. It will take me a while, but I'll build one, and then we can have as much time as we need to shoot it. So there was no way we could afford to be in a sound stage or anything like that. So it just became this really slow process. Mark came up to my house a few times, and we'd like paint some plywood blue, and we'd like put some more plywood on top of that, and we'd be like, "Ooh, it's kind of cool. It's like a floor." And then we'd probably, I don't know, we'd build like one little piece, and it'd take us like a week to do, and we'd put screws in it, and we'd like make it perfect. And before we knew what was happening, we'd spent like 2 months, and all of a sudden we had a little tunnel, and we're like, "God, this little tunnel looks cool. Let's build another one." And then 6 months came around, and he had to like go back home to his family and stuff, and the Dodgers had lost against the Cubs, and I was all bummed about that. So like my building process had slowed way down. Instead of waking up at 7 in the morning to build, I was waking up at like 9 or something. And at this point, my parents were like, "All right, our son is living at home building a space station in the backyard." But they were so supportive, and piece by piece, junkyard piece by junkyard piece, we started to assemble this like really big thing, and I now own like 9 nail guns and all kinds of crazy things. So yeah, I don't know. It was a crazy endeavor. We had it covered in plastic. It would rain, and like I'd wake up in the middle of the night just going, "Oh my God, you know, like why didn't we get a sound stage?"
Gunnar, how did you get involved in the project?
Will and I, we met in May of 2007. We shot a motorcycle lifestyle TV pilot, and he was doing camera, and I was riding the bike, and we had some really great trust right off the bat. And about a month later, after that job, he calls me and says, "Hey man, listen, I got this project that I want to talk to you over the phone. Let's meet up for coffee." And I met him and a few other guys, and he's like, "Listen man, we think about being an astronaut." And I was like, "Are you going to shoot it?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "I'm in." And we well, he gave me some of the conceptualization. He told me about Tom, and we started shooting in like September of 2007. And what he's saying, and it's a true testament to Will and Mark, is that they had rented in Hollywood, basically, obviously certain space shuttle sections and ISS space station pieces that you could actually rent in LA. And kind of everything started to slowly evolve and change. And a lot of this that you see that actually made the picture was shot 3 years later. And all of that, I would say 98% of what you're seeing, not all of it, is his reintroduction of the space station, which I think is way more detailed than what we were renting in Hollywood. And I drove up right before we started to shoot this one section. I drove up to San Ynez, and him and Mark, they were showing me what they had built, and I was like, man, this is insane. And I was like, well, what were you referencing? And I looked down, and there was like almost like library books of real NASA photos of inside ISS and astronauts working, and they were literally looking off pictures and then going to Home Depot and reworking them. To where, for me as a character, I actually took those same books, put them in the motorhome, and just kind of try to use those as references, wondering what those astronauts were doing. So.
Also, I want to put a shout out to Nielsen's Building Supply, which I did go there a lot too. Up in San Diego. It's funny because I'd go there and like, most construction people get up, they get their coffee, and they're like in Nielsen's Building Supply by like 7 o'clock or something, just getting what they need for the day. I'm like some kid who doesn't really know how to do any construction, so I would show up right before they were going to close. Like at 2 in the afternoon or 3 in the afternoon, and be like buying all this lumber, and I would work late. So they were like, who's this kid who shows up like really late and buy all this lumber? What is he doing? And I showed him a picture. I'm like, oh, I'm building this space station thing. And they're like, oh, okay. Weird.
Well, I think one of the things that makes this film, to me, so visually so amazing is your technique and how you create movement out of nothing. I mean, out of a stills, I mean, there's obviously the space station isn't moving, but you find ways to make the camera move. You find ways to make it seem like Lee is really in space and everything around him is moving around. And I'm just wondering if you could talk about that, and also the way that you as the film progresses, a lot of the shots that you use in order to create this loneliness, this lonely feeling that he has. I noticed a lot of long shots, a lot of really long takes and everything. And then Gunnar, sorry, if you could talk about how, as an actor, you approach that feeling of loneliness. He was on the space station for 7 years.
I knew the tricky part about this was, it's like, you have 90 minutes, and if we're going to be in one place, like, I got to change the way we shoot it up a lot, just so that way you feel like you're in different places, even though we're in the same room like the whole time. So while I was building, I would get really detailed on little sections and plan for shots in those areas. Like, for instance, when he's working on trying to fix the radio, and there's all the blue out of focus lights down there, I was like, I can really detail this one little area up so we can cut to some macro shots and close-ups. So that way it felt like there was breadth to, cinematography-wise in the pacing. Because I know it's like, it's a more meditative movie, so I was trying to find ways that we could increase that sort of feeling in terms of those shots. And then the long shots, it's just, the funny part is we had to shoot this movie out of order because of so many factors in terms of, when Gunnar was available and where his beard needed to be and stuff like that. So we would like destroy, and what it really came down to was there was only like 4 tunnels, and we had them built on casters, so we'd roll them around. So what happened was we would get this thing finally organized and clamped together in one way, and it was like, God, it would take half a day to realign it into something else or towards the fan room. So we would be like, you know what, guys, let's just do all the scenes that would be in this tunnel right here, and we would then just stress it and then break it down and then clean it up, and then, it was just a nightmare doing that kind of thing. And then for some shots, in order to give a little bit of scope, like for instance, there's a shot where he's kind of up on the wall and he's putting blocks away, and then he gets a radio call and he gets up and he walks and the camera sort of follows him. That's shot over 4 different days. We would have to like reference what he was sitting like and what he looked like, because we were shooting one direction and that's where all of our pieces are. And then the next day when we had realigned the ship, we'd shoot the other part where he gets up and walks. So we were trying to make it seem like the ship was a lot bigger than it was. And, I don't even remember it.